Here's a slope review of the slope work we've done so far. For the first two, you're going to write the equation of each line of the graph. To write an equation, we need our slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. That means we need to look at this graph and we need to find out what is the m and what is the b. The m is the slope and the b is the y-intercept. So I like to begin at the b. The b is the point where the line intersects with the y-axis. In this graph, the b is 0. The m is the slope. That's the rise and run. We make that right triangle, rise and run. Notice that our line is increasing. That's a positive slope. On this graph, it rises 1 and it runs 2. So our slope is 1/2 and it's positive. So now we just write the equation. Y equals 1/2 x plus 0. You could also say y equals 1/2 x. And having nothing there means plus 0. So either one of these is an acceptable equation for this graph. Let's go on to the second one. Same process. We need to figure out the m and the b. And y equals mx plus b. Okay, so let's begin at the b. The b is the point where the line intersects with the y-axis. Okay, that's right here. That is -3, so the b is -3. To find the m, we draw a right triangle and we rise and run. This one rises 2 and runs backwards 2, indicating that this is a negative line. See, this line is decreasing, so we need to have a negative for our slope. We could simplify. -2 divided by 2 is -1 for our slope. Now we just plug those numbers in or substitute those numbers into our equation. Y equals m is -1x plus a -3. Or if we wanted to simplify this even more, we could say y equals -1x minus 3. We could even simplify this one step further and just say y equals -x minus 3. Any of these answers are acceptable for the equation of this graph, or this line on the graph. Okay. Part 2, we're going to graph the following equations. Again, we need those two pieces of information, the m and the b. So in the equation, y equals 3x minus 2, the 3 is the m, and the -2 or the -2 is the b. So I want to pull those two pieces of information out. Our slope needs to be rise over run, so we put 3 over 1. And our b, we want to include that -2 for our b. Now, when we go to graph the equation, begin at the b and put a point. Our b is -2, so we put a point right here, right there at -2. Then, from that point, you rise and run. We're going to rise 3, 1, 2, 3, and run 1. And then we put another point. Continue this pattern, rise and run. Rise 3, run 1, put another point. Keep going. Rise 3, run 1. Whoops, I fell off the graph there. Rise 3, run 1. And keep going. Also, reverse the direction so we can have it go through all the quadrants. So drop 3, go back 1. Change that to blue. Continue, drop 3, go back 1. Go ahead and connect all your points with a straight line. And then just double check everything. Did we begin at -2? Yep. And is our slope +3/1? It sure is. Okay, let's try the next one. Okay, graph this equation. So I'm going to do that again right above. Y equals m. I can see my m is going to be -1/2 mx plus b. And my b is going to be 4. So in the margin, m, our slope is negative slope, -1/2. And our b is +4. Okay, here we go. To graph the line, begin at the b. That's the y-intercept. So we begin at +4 and put a point. That's right here. Okay, now we're ready to rise and run. It's going to be a negative line, so we're going to drop 1 and run forward 2. And put a new point. Continue the pattern. Drop 1, run forward 2. And put a new point. Oop, a little bit out of whack there. How about there? Okay, and drop 1, forward 2, and continue. And reverse the direction. So go back to the intercept, rise 1, and go backwards 2, and put a new point. And continue in that direction as well. Okay, then connect all the points with a straight line. I'm going to redo that. Okay. Okay, so then double check. Is our line, our slope -1/2, and we began the intercepts at 4. Okay, moving on, we thought it would be helpful for you to practice using the slope formula that we kind of started back in the beginning. Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. So label your ordered pairs first. Remember, it's X and a Y. It's an X and a Y. And then we put 1s by the first ordered pair, and then we put 2s by the second ordered pair. Okay, now we just substitute that into the formula. I like to put my minus signs in ahead of time. It's just my preference. Okay, so now we begin with Y2. Which number did we label Y2? -2. So it's Y2 minus Y1. The Y1 is 5. Just be careful and accurate here. X2 is -4 and X1 is 1. Okay, now you're going to do the math. If you need your calculator for support, go for it. -2 minus 7, or -2 minus 5, I'm sorry, is -7. And -4 minus 1 is a -5. A double negative, that seems pretty odd looking, but a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So our final answer is 7/5. And we can leave it improper. Try the next one. Label. So X, Y, we get the 1s over here. X and Y. And we put the 2s here because that's our second ordered pair. Okay, let's fill in, follow the formula. Let's look at the formula again. Okay, begin with our Y2. So our Y2 is right here, the number 1 minus Y1, which is 5. X2 is 2, X1 is 4. So you just have to follow those directions. Okay, now do your math. 1 minus 5 is, careful, it's -4. And 2 minus 4 is -2. If we simplify, well, the double negative is going to be a positive, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. We could say 2, or we could say 2 over 1. Either one is correct. Okay, go ahead and make sure you have all of this work shown and flip to the back. Okay, on this side we're going to review something and learn something new. So there'll be one new concept at the end here, so pay close attention when we get there at the end. Let's first use the slope and the y-intercept to write an equation in slope-intercept form. What is the equation in slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. So all you need to do is take out the letter m and substitute in the number. So we're going to put in 4 right there. That's where I got the 4. And then put down x. And the b is right here. It tells us it's -2. And that is all there is to it. You could simplify that and say y equals 4x minus 2 as well. Okay, so it's as easy as that. When we give you these two pieces of information, just sub them in for the m and the b. So for this one, our m is -1/3 right there. So I just take out the m and put in -1/3. Don't forget to write the letter x. And then plus b is just 0. And again, you could simplify that and just have y equals -1/3 x. Okay, we're approaching something new. First, something old, and then it'll build into something new. So now we're going to take two equations and put them on the same graph. So remember from the front, when we graph the equations, we need the m and the b. So for our first equation, the m is -3. And for our slope, we always need rise over run. Our b is 6. Begin at the b. Begin at the b. I feel like I've said that a bunch of times. Begin at the b. Okay, we're going to begin at the b, which is 6, and put a point. 1, 2, 3. Well, that's right here. Okay, from that point, we rise and run. So it's -3. So drop 3, run forward 1, and put a new point. Do it again. Drop 3, forward 1. And continue that pattern. We can also reverse this. Go back to the intercept, rise 3, go back 1. That could be one more point that could fit on here. Okay, now we're going to connect the dots to make our line. Neatly, use a straight edge if you need to. Okay, there's y equals -3x plus 6. Let's look at our next equation. Okay, so our m happens to be the same value, so -3, remember, rise over run. And our b for this one is -4. So begin at the b. Begin at the b, and our b is -4, so we're going to begin right there. And now let's rise and run. Same slope, so we're going to drop 4, go over, run 1. Oh, I said drop 4. We're going to drop 3, run 1. Do it again. Drop 3, run 1, and put a point. Okay, I'm off the graph, so I'm going to reverse the direction, rise and run. Rise 3, back 1, and continue that pattern. Okay, now I'm going to connect the points carefully, straight edge if you've got it. Try to be nice and neat. Okay. So now, did you notice anything? Did you wonder anything? Did you notice that these equations both had the same slope, but they had different intercepts? What kind of lines did we create? What do you notice about these lines? Do you know the name for them? Begins with a P. These are parallel lines. So what you should notice is, what you should know about parallel lines is that parallel lines will never cross. So if the slopes are the same, the lines will never, ever cross. So parallel lines have the same slope. That leads us to our new skill. Write an equation of a line that is parallel to the following. So if it's parallel, it has to have the same slope. Okay, so make a note of that. This is the math symbol for parallel lines. All right, so if we want parallel to this equation here, we just keep the slope. And then we could choose the intercept, but we have to change it, otherwise it would be the exact same line. So maybe I'm going to say +4. The intercept has to change. So you choose the intercept. Just don't make it -2, because then it would be the same line. So what are you thinking for the next one? If we want it to be parallel, we have to have the same slope. So I just keep the -1/2 x, because that's the slope, and then I choose the intercept. Maybe I'll go with +1 on this one. Again, it's your choice, but for this one, any number, just not 4, +4. Okay, so that's the new skill. If you want parallel lines, they have to have the same slope. Parallel lines are very special because they never cross, like railroad tracks. Okay, so you should have all of this work, and that's it for today.